All right, well, it is February 9th, and we're going to start today. We got a new panelist, so why don't you give us a quick introduction, Judy? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Judy Anakala, and I actually started with Westside, and I was a member of Westside. And then when we merged, then I became a member of TJN.
That was like 2 years ago, right?
Yep. And since then, I've been a first impressionist, and I've helped with the kids, helped with Awana, and it's just fun to be a part of the family. So I've been a Christian for a long time, and every day is a walk. Some days I do better than others.
Yeah. Well, and you've been doing the morning Bible study for a long time.
Right.
And what made you make the decision to jump on and be a panelist with us in these last days?
You know, it's so funny. When God pushes, you can only say no so long. Mm-hmm. And because the biggest thing is fear, you know, I don't know, what if I don't do a good job? What if I screw up words? What if I do this and that? So it's easy to say no. And, you know, he just brings it around where you do finally just say, okay, fine. So it's like, it's nice to be a part of it, but, you know, sometimes it's one of those things that your fear or your stress level is like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I'll answer questions very good.
Well, we're going to put you to the test. We're going to find out. But in the meantime, welcome to Moses's world. And boy, I think some of what you just shared actually fits into what we're going to be reading today about, you know, fear of what happens if, and the temptation not to follow God when he asks, and all of those kinds of things that are as real for us as they were for them.
Absolutely.
However, their consequences seem to be pretty severe. And maybe we can get on the learning side of the story where they get to live out the consequences of their behavior, and we get to maybe choose not to experience as many consequences because of it. So,
right.
All right, gang, let's dive into our reading. February 9th, a challenge in leadership, which is the struggle is real. Postponement of the advance to Canaan and the defeat by the foreign armies has a calamitous effect on the Israelites. During the next 40 years, they will become bitter, quarrelsome, and openly rebellious. Trouble reaches a peak when Korah himself, a Levite, and 2 men of the tribe of Reuben lead 250 others in what amounts to a mutiny. Anna, we remember that. After they were miraculously destroyed for their rebellion, thousands of other Israelites who stand in sympathy with them are also stricken by plague and die. The issue is not simply one of political leadership. Despite what may have been a sincere conviction on Korah's part, there is an assault against God's chosen priesthood. To make his selection of Aaron as priest perfectly clear, God directs Moses to perform a test involving the collection of rods from each tribe. Only Aaron's rod proves to be God's choice. To further instruct the Israelites regarding the proper position of the priesthood, the Levites who serve them, God declares that the priests and the Levites will have no inheritance in the promised land, but will rather be supported through the practice of tithing. Korah, son of Izhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, a certain Reubenite, Dathan, and Abiram, sons of Eliab, on the son of Peleth, became isolated, insolent, became insolent and rose up against Moses. With them were 250 Israelite men, well known community leaders who had been appointed members of the council. They came as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far. The whole community is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you set yourself above the Lord's assembly?" When Moses heard this, he fell face down. Then he said to Korah and all his followers, "In the morning the Lord will show who belongs to him and who is holy, and he will have that person come near. The man he chooses, he will cause to come near. You, Korah, and all your followers are to do this. Take censers, and tomorrow put burning coal and incense in them before the Lord. The man who the Lord chooses will be the one who is holy. You Levites have gone too far." Moses also said to Korah, "Now listen, you Levites, isn't it enough that the God of Israel has separated you and the rest of the Israelite community and brought you near himself to do the work the Lord at the Lord's tabernacle and to stand before the community and minister to them? He has brought you and all your fellow Levites near him, but now you are trying to get to the priesthood too. It is against the Lord that you and all your followers have banded together. Who is Aaron that you should grumble against him?" Then Moses summoned uh, Dathan and Abiram and the sons of Eliab, and they said, We will not come. Isn't it enough that you have brought us up out of the land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness? And now you also want to lord it over us? Moreover, you haven't brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey or given us an inheritance of fields and vineyards. Do you want to treat these men like slaves? No, we will not come. Then Moses became very angry and said to the Lord, "Do not accept their offering. I have not taken so much as a donkey from them, nor have I wronged nor have I wronged any of them." Moses said to Korah, "You and all your followers are to appear before the Lord tomorrow. You and they and Aaron, each man is to take his censer and put incense in it, 250 censers in all, and present it before the Lord. You and Aaron are to present your censers also." So each of them took his censer and put burning coals and incense in it and stood with Moses and Aaron at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Korah had gathered all his followers in opposition to them and entered into the tent of meeting. The glory of the Lord appeared to the entire assembly. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Separate yourself from this assembly so I can put an end to them at once."
But Moses and Aaron fell face down and cried out, "O God, the God who gives breath to all things, will you be angry with the entire assembly when only one man sins?" Then the Lord said to Moses, "Say to the assembly, move away from the tents of Korah, Nathan, and Abiram." Moses got up and went to Nathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. He warned the assembly, "Move back from the tents of these wicked men. Do not touch anything belonging to them, or you will be swept away because of all their sins." So they moved away from the tents of Korah, Nathan, and Abiram. Nathan and Abiram had come out and were standing with their wives, children, and little ones at the entrances of their tents. Then Moses said, "This is how you will know that the Lord has sent me to do all these things, and that it was not my idea. If these men die a natural death and suffer the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord brings about something totally new, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them with everything that belongs to them, and they go down alive into the realm of the dead, then you will know that these men have treated the Lord with contempt." As soon as he finished saying all this, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their households, and all those associated with Korah, together with their possessions. They went down alive into the realm of the dead with everything they owned. The earth closed over them, and they perished and were gone from the community. At their cries, all the Israelites around them fled, shouting, "The earth is going to swallow us too." And fire came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men who were offering the incense. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, to remove the censers from the charred remains and scatter the coals some distance away, for the censers are holy, the censers of the men who sinned at the cost of their lives. Hammer the censers into sheets to overlay the altar, for they were presented before the Lord and have become holy. Let them be a sign to the Israelites." So Eleazar, the priest, collected the bronze censers brought by those who had been burned to death, and he had them hammered out to overlay the altar, as the Lord directed him through Moses. This was to remind the Israelites that no one except a descendant of Aaron should come to burn incense before the Lord, or he would become like Korah and his followers. The next day, the whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. "You have killed the Lord's people," they said. But when the assembly gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron and turned towards the tent of meeting, suddenly the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. Then Moses and Aaron went to the front of the tent of meeting, and the Lord said to Moses, "Get away from this assembly so I can put an end to them at once." And they fell face down. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Take your censer and put incense in it, along with burning coals from the altar, and hurry to the assembly to make atonement for them. Wrath has come out of the Lord. The plague has started." So Aaron did as Moses said and ran in the midst of the assembly. The plague had already started among the people, but Aaron offered the incense and made atonement for them. He stood between the living and the dead, and the plague stopped. But 14,700 people died from the plague, in addition to those who had died because of Korah. Then Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance to the tent of meeting, for the plague had stopped. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and get 12 staffs from them, one from the leader of each of the ancestral tribes. Write the name of each man on his staff. On the staff of Levi, write Aaron's name, for there must be one staff for the head of each ancestral tribe. Place them in the tent of meeting in front of the ark of the covenant law, where I meet with you. The staff belonging to the man I choose will sprout, and I will rid myself of this constant grumbling against you by the Israelites." So Moses spoke to the Israelites, and their leaders gave him 12 staffs, one for each leader of each ancestral tribe, and Aaron's staff was among them. Moses placed the staffs before the Lord in the tent of the covenant law.
The next day, Moses entered the tent and saw that Aaron's staff, which represented the tribe of Levi, had not only sprouted, but had budded, bloomed, and produced almonds. Then Moses brought out all of the staffs from the Lord's presence to all the Israelites. They looked at them, and each of the leaders took his own staff. The Lord said to Moses, "Put back Aaron's staff in front of the ark of the covenant law to be kept as a sign to the rebellious. This will put an end to their grumbling against me so that they will not die." Moses did just as the Lord commanded him. The Israelites said to Moses, "We will die. We are lost. We are all lost. Anyone who comes near the tabernacle of the Lord will die. Are we going to die?" The Lord said to Aaron, "You, your sons, and your family are to bear the responsibility for offenses connected with the sanctuary, and you and your sons alone are to bear the responsibility for offenses connected with the priesthood. Bring your fellow Levites from your ancestral tribes to join you and assist you when you and your sons minister before the tent of the covenant law. They are to be responsible to you and are to perform all the duties of the tent, but they must not go near the furnishings of the sanctuary or the altar. Otherwise, both they and you will die. They are to join you and be responsible for the care of the tent of the meeting, all the work at the tent, and no one else may come near where you are. You are responsible for the care of the sanctuary and the altar, so that my wrath will not fall on the Israelites again. I myself have selected your fellow Levites from among the Israelites as a gift to you, dedicated to the Lord to do the work at the tent meeting. But only you and your sons may serve as priests in connection with everything at the altar and inside the curtain. I am giving you the service of the priesthood as a gift. Anyone else who comes near the sanctuary is to be put to death. Then the Lord said to Aaron, I myself have put you in charge of the offerings presented to me. All the holy offerings the Israelites give to me, I give to you and your sons as your portion, your perpetual share. You are to have the part of the mostly holy offering that is kept from the fire. From all the gifts they bring me as holy offerings, whether grains or sin or guilt offerings. That part belongs to you and your sons. Eat it as something most holy. Every male shall eat it. You must regard it as holy. This also is yours. Whatever is set aside from the gifts of all the wave offerings of the Israelites, I give this to you and your sons and daughters as your perpetual share. Everyone in your household who is ceremonially clean may eat it. I give you all the finest olive oil and all the finest new wine and grain they gave the Lord as the first fruits of their harvest. All the land's first fruits that bring to the Lord will be yours. Everyone in your household who is ceremonially clean may eat it. Everything in Israel that is devoted to the Lord is yours. The first offspring of every womb, both human and animal, that is offered to the Lord is yours. But you must redeem every firstborn son and every firstborn male of unclean animals. When they are a month old, you must redeem them at the redemption price set at 5 shekels of silver, according to the sanctuary shekel, which weighs 20 gahars.
But you must not redeem the firstborn of a cow, a sheep, or a goat. They are holy. Splash their blood against the altar and burn their fat as a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Their meat is to be yours, just as the breast of the wave offering and the right thigh are yours. Whatever is set aside from the holy offerings the Israelites present to the Lord, I give to you and your sons and daughters as a perpetual share. It is an everlasting covenant of salt before the Lord for both you and your offspring. The Lord said to Aaron, you will have no inheritance in their land, nor will you have any share among them. I am your share and your inheritance among the Israelites. I give to the Levites all the tithes in Israel as their inheritance in return for the work they do while serving at the tent of meeting. From now on, the Israelites must not go near the tent of meeting, nor will they will bear the consequences of their sin and will die. It is the Levites who are to do the work at the tent of meeting and bear the responsibility for any offenses they commit against it. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. They will receive no inheritance among the Israelites. Instead, I give to the Levites as their inheritance the tithes that Israel presents as the offering to the Lord. That is why I said concerning them, they will have no inheritance among the Israelites. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the Levites and say to them, when you receive from the Israelites the tithe I give you as your inheritance, you must present a tenth of the tithe as the Lord's offering. Your offering will be reckoned to you as grain from the threshing floor or juice from the winepress. In this way, you will also present an offering to the Lord from all the tithes you receive from the Israelites. From these tithes, you must give the Lord a portion to Aaron the priest. You must present as the Lord's portion the best and holiest part of everything given to you. Say to the Levites, when you present the best part, it will be reckoned to you as a product of the threshing floor or the winepress. You and your households may eat the rest of it anywhere, for it is your wages for your work at the tent of meeting. By presenting the best part of it, you will not be guilty in this matter. Then you will not defile the holy offerings of the Israelites, and you will not die.
Well, a lot of going ons in this story. What did you make of it? What did you see?
I don't know if I'd really want to have to be responsible for all of the stuff that the Levites had to. I'd be so afraid I'd do something wrong. And the punishment for doing something wrong is not good. So that I think would be tough.
There was an opportunity given to leaders and for leaders to lead a certain way, and obedience from those that they are following. And it clearly shows that without obedience to the leaders leading the way that God says to, the way that God has directed them to, there is consequences.
Right. And consequences are real. I mean, their consequences were very real.
Severe.
That's awesome. Awesome to notice that. What else did you pick up on?
I noticed a couple of times in there that the glory of the Lord appeared. The first time the glory of the Lord appeared in the tent of meeting, there wasn't really a great description of what that would look like. But in the second time it appeared as a cloud, kind of like when they're wandering in the desert with a pillar of fire and a pillar of cloud. For me, I don't know. I always wondered what those types of things look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had to have been startling though, but I mean, it obviously stirred everybody, right? I mean, God showing up in that way. It wasn't like, oh, I wonder if it's going to rain. It's like, no, I think it's going to storm. I mean, something's about to happen. God has drawn near, right? It's good. Like the presence of God is near. And, it had to be a shocking thing when they were coming to worship and all of a sudden God showed it. It's kind of like I've often wondered, it's like we come with an expectation at church to worship. But what if the cloud showed up? What if fire emerged on our heads? It's like, what if we really recognized that we weren't sort of in the presence of God? We were in the very presence of God, and the awe of that awareness hit everybody together. What would that be like? So mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
It sure makes you wonder how they could doubt God.
Yeah.
Because just to see the earth open and all of a sudden all these people are gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, kind of reminds me of what the rapture will be like. All of a sudden we'll be gone.
Yeah. Well, and what was funny about that, and I'm glad you said that, but I mean, here it was said out loud first, and then it happened. It wasn't like it happened and an earthquake happened, and they went, that's what this was. He's saying, what would happen if the earth opened up and they all got swallowed up? And then the earth opened up and they all got swallowed up. And the people were like, we're mad at you. We're mad at you for this happening. I wonder who, when the rapture happens, I wonder who people are going to be mad at about that. It's like, here we are caught into the presence of the Lord and left these other people behind. Somebody's responsible. We're going to blame someone for it.
Why on earth did you take my brother-in-law? He owed me $10. Come on, guy.
Right. Exactly. I want my stuff back. You didn't return my rake. What happened? Hey, let's take a gander at a couple of these questions here. When we look at them, how can opposition be handled in a positive way? How do you guys handle opposition? Because we're always faced with opposition. Moses certainly, God certainly. I love this idea that the first header for the reading that I got to read was opposition to the leadership. That's a real thing. Whenever you're going to go in a direction, some number of people are going to be unhappy. How do you best handle opposition? And we're all in some ways or shape or form leading something, or we've led something. And for some of you, I'm thinking, I don't know if my dear wife is listening, but leading our children into the right attitude in preparation for school today. No easy task. I mean, there's opposition to the leadership that whenever you bring it to bear on the world, right? How do you lead in a way that navigates opposition?
If you remove truth, and if anybody knows me, they know how emotional I am. So it's funny that I'm going to say this, but when you remove truth from your leadership and bring in all the feelings, it goes haywire because there's nothing solid to stand on. These feelings are fleeting and the truth is solid. Yeah. So if you lead,
facts don't care about your feelings.
They don't. No. So when the opposition comes, you can't waver from the truth, even if it's unpopular and it causes you pain. You have to stand on the truth. What are you willing to stand on and allow the feelings to go by the wayside and pull the truth out of that? Coming from the emotional creature that.
Well, God decided to balance your world by giving you someone who's very good at staying off the emotional wave and just even, steady, truth-oriented. You got a gift there, and don't forget to remind him that he's a gift.
I'll do that.
All right. Yeah.
I think sometimes we also need to listen to what are they opposing, and then like Anna said, stick with the facts. And as a mom, what I'd come to is because I said so. You have to do what I say because I said so. Just because I am the mom, and you may think your ideas are great and I hear what you have to say. However, this is the way it has to be.
Yeah. And how has that gone for you?
Well, sometimes not very well. but the concept.
When it doesn't go well, when it's not going well, what do you do? What do you do when it's not going well?
One of the things I try to do is stay calm, which sometimes gets harder and harder as the conflict keeps coming more and more and more. And that's where I think people in leadership have it really tough because of the fact that no matter what decision you make, you're always going to have somebody on the opposite side. I remember working for the school system, and like whenever you'd have the superintendent would call a school snow day, it would be you'd have half of the people not wanting it and half of the people wanting it. So either decision is going to make somebody unhappy.
I was always on the half that wanted it.
I know. Me too.
That was my thought on the topic. Like, yeah, let's do more snow days.
Right. There has to be consequences. If you're in leadership, regardless of what that leadership is, if you're in leadership and you are leading, standing on truth and you're leading, and you have the opposition, there has to be consequences. And this doesn't go for children, but you have to you have to draw a line in the sand. And however that line in the sand looks like, that grumbling will roll right over to the entire group if there are no consequences, because then they all jump on that grumbling bandwagon and you're left standing on the hill alone.
Now, Jacob, thanks to Uncle Sam, you had the benefit of having an amazing amount of money invested in you as a leader, becoming the leader that you became. And I'm curious, what did you learn? How do you handle conflict in a ordered military environment, perhaps?
Well, I would say that for me, I think conflicts, there's a huge opportunity for innovation, creative expression, and also betterment to take place. Whenever you have two opposing forces, they have a bunch of different reasons why their way is better. And when you combine those two different forces that are working against one another, you have an amazing opportunity for a better plan to take place and a better plan to happen. Now, if the two parties are willing and able to, in a in a positive way, combine their ideas, a lot of the time what you end up with is a much better process or product of what you're trying to look at or trying to work at. And so I think in some ways opposition can be the birthplace of innovation. And I think that's part of the reason why opposition and conflict takes place within our lives each day. It gives us an opportunity to look through the lens of someone else and to see what we're missing, to see what it is that we could possibly do better. Sometimes it's just purely grumbling, but there's a reason why people are upset. It's because, frankly, everyone thinks their way is the best. And that's why they complain, and that's why they do what they do. And it doesn't matter who you're listening to. It could be any person in a pecking order in the military. Some of the best ideas I got were from the guy that just got out of basic training. And they're like, why are we doing it this way? And if you, like what Judy was saying, if you listen to people, because everybody wants to be heard, if you listen to people and incorporate their ideas, not only are you going to get buy-in on top of it, but you're actually going to get something that may be greatly improved to what the original plan was.
Right. And so what I hear you saying is that essentially that we ought not fear conflict on the face of it. That conflict provides opportunity when channeled appropriately or properly, but we have to learn to listen with the ears of really finding out what is our shared interest rather than just what is the position. Oftentimes what we'll see is people fighting for a position. What you said, I think, is everybody thinks they're right? It's like, I'm right, and because I think I'm right, I want to hold this position. My rightness isn't the highest value in most discussions.
Correct.
It's our shared interest. What are we both trying to get at? And when you start putting the mission ahead of your personal passion, and you say, wait a second, we want to win, so I want to get all of the best ideas. I'm not going to be threatened by others' ideas. You start hearing those ideas in a different framework rather than that idea is coming against me. That idea is an idea that maybe we have some opportunity to navigate. And if we can get that shared buy-in around our mission, we can be really a much more impassioned and oftentimes a force to be reckoned, right?
Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason, or one of the things that there's like some kind of a misgiving or a misunderstanding about leadership and bringing ideas to leadership. Leaders are not the smartest person in the room always. They're not the most capable. They're people that are willing to take everything around them and make everyone around them better. And so I think that when a leader has the opportunity to be able to have the confidence and to also have the forethought to encompass everything around them and use all of their resources, and that's going to include, hey, by the way, I'm not always right.
And isn't that the truth of parenting too? I mean, back to Judy. I mean, you've got a sense like, if your kids know that you really do hold their best interests at heart, it's like obedience may not come easily or naturally, but if at the end of the day they really trust that you have their best interest at heart, I think that there's at least hope. There's at least hope that you can start molding and directing and forming them to become the women and men that they're really meant to be, right? I mean, that's actually, I think, why we love the idea of parenting. It's like we get to help someone have a better experience in life than we had. I mean, isn't that what we kind of desire for our kids? Something better than we had? Yeah. Yeah. When we look at this next question, though, how can grumbling attitudes lead to rebelling against God? What did you guys sense in the text, or What have you seen in your personal experience? How does grumbling affect our attitudes towards God? Obviously poison, right?
Well, they're not satisfied. You know, you listen to the people and boy, they can turn their back on God so fast. If God's not doing exactly what they want him to do, give us the meat, give us all the vegetables that we had in Egypt, and this manna is getting old. You know, you just look at how they turn their back so fast. And I find it really interesting because I can read it and go, I can't believe this. I can't believe they're not getting it. And then I can look at my life and I can go, huh, well, sometimes I kind of act like that too. And so it becomes a little bit more personal.
Yeah, it does. I love the way you vocally express the huh. It's like, huh. You know, it becomes really personal, right? You know, it's like, I wonder why they're doing it that way. And then you look inward and it's the huh that I think the text is meant to cause us to pause and have that expression of awareness, like, holy smokes, this grumbling business, I can become dissatisfied with what God has provided, and I can want what I used to have and find myself very quickly moving from a place of experiencing the joy of the Lord to a dissatisfaction with the things that God has given and offered in my life. And I think we're prone to that. I as the leader of churches and people, if I could figure out how to crack that nut, but as it turns out, all I do is recognize the nuts.
I laugh and then I realize you're talking about me.
Uh-huh. All right. So, other thoughts on that? Grumbling and dissatisfaction.
If a person complains or criticizes creation long enough, they're eventually going to criticize the creator. I've kind of heard a couple years ago. That's coming to mind right now. There's nothing wrong with thinking critically. Thinking critically is wonderful, but when we get to a place where we put ourselves in the judgment seat and take God out of there, that's when we get some real problems going on. And for me, that's kind of what this question is pointing to. How can grumbling attitudes lead to rebelling against God? A grumbling attitude, at least for me, says that I know better than God. So instead of doing what God says, I'm just going to do what I want to do.
It's unfortunately a terrifying proposition that entirely too many of us embrace, you know, and embrace too often, right? What do the verses teach us about dealing with the power struggles?
You know, for me, when I read this last night, the whole thing, but when that question hit, it took me to a very difficult time in our church history and in your life when there were people of the church and a power struggle started. And at that time, Bruce was on the committee, on the governing team. And I do believe that was his first go at it. And it was beyond difficult to watch people that I loved dearly and respected, that I had dinner with and celebrated holidays with and joys and you know, terrible times in my life, become people I didn't know. To be walking shoulder to shoulder, side by side with people as the church started, and growing with them and watching this church grow, and decide, oh, let's do it our way. Let's not. And so with that, when it didn't become powerful enough, things of untruth were said about you, about people on that panel, my husband. And it was a terrible, sad thing to watch. And it was a train wreck. It was moving forward and people wanted their way. And the amount of people that would jump on that train instead of standing with their leader, with their pastor that had taken us already through an incredible time and decided that way is not our way, so we want our way, and we will do whatever it takes and destroy lives. And the day of the meeting, when the Converge members came to sit with your governing team, there were 3 governing members left at that table with you. Everybody else had jumped to ship. And in that room were your children, your young children that loved these people too, that had spoken into their lives for many years. And I watched you as you had to witness the horrific things that people said about you and your leadership in front of your babies. And your wife sitting at your side, and your 3 governing team members still fighting for you. And so a power struggle is more than just about winning. It's those that get destroyed and wounded in the midst of that attempt to bring a leader down and take over power.
It's amazing how people fight for power. And, I'm so glad you were able to share a little bit about that, because I think we talk about it and we process it until God helps us make sense of it. One of the things that happened in that season for me is I leaned into a pastor named Darren Sheshke at Heartland Church in Indiana, and one of the great leaders in our conference. And he said, Mark, you got to lean into your sense of call. Did God call you to this? And if he called you to this, you lean into him and you lean into your sense of call. But he said, almost all of the great leaders in our conference have gone through this. And then he pointed out a handful of biblical characters that went through this, including Moses. He said, God uses these kinds of really vile hardships to form us into the leaders that we're meant to become. And there are no great leaders that don't go through this kind of hardship. And I look back and I'm so grateful for that unbelievably painful season, because God put a more humble leader in me, and a more trusting and confident leader in him, and a reliance on the person of the Holy Spirit that may not ever have been developed and quite informed in quite the way it was formed in me in the heat of the furnace of that battle. And at the end of the day, a lot of people got hurt, and some of them have never ever recovered from the vile, difficult, painful expression of the pursuit of power that we got to witness there.
Great.
Let me close us in prayer. Thank you for sharing that remembrance. But Father God, I do thank you that you take us through seasons of fire, and you take us through those seasons in ways that allow us to be formed, because you promised that you will work out for the good of us that love you all these things that we travel through. And nothing like opposition to your kingdom is ever going to ruin your hand or your work. And so let us walk with greater reliance or confidence in who you are, in spite of what we see in circumstance. So Father, birth in us a church that's filled with people of faith and a vibrancy as we pursue you with everything within us, trusting that you have our very best at heart and that you've got a plan to work out all these things for the good of those of us who love you and are called according to your purpose. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you, gang. Make it a great day. Live it for him. You're going to live it. You might as well live it for him. Make it a good one. Bye, guys.